Welcome back to part two. I knew you couldn't stay away for long. I'm celebrating the day, as I always do every year, with a little bit of an Irish feast. I'm cooking up some roasted potatoes and leeks, cabbage, vegan corned beef, soda bread, plenty of drinks. I got some non-dairy Baileys in here with my chai tea, which is very, very soul warming on a cold, rainy Los Angeles night. And I got my little Frankenstein mug here. He's all green with the celebration of Irish heritage. I mean, he's always green. He can't really help it. But isn't he cute? Isn't he so cute? But I'm so glad you can join me. So I'm gonna do things a little bit differently tonight because I chose one that I didn't really like. So I'm kind of gonna start with that one just to kind of get it over with, um, and get it out of the way. But today I got for you The Departed, which came out in 2006. This is the one I like, obviously. Um, and I'm a word. Okay, so we got Martin Scorsese's best film since Goodfellas. Wow, that was just a bold statement. A new American crime classic from the legendary Martin Scorsese. I would agree. I would agree. It's a great film. The Goodfellas thing is a little bit bold, but you know what? I'm there with it. I'm into it. So I got The Departed, which came out in 2006, paired with Black Mass that came out in 2015. So I'd never seen Black Mass before, but of course, as an organized crime aficionado, which I've talked about on the channel before, I was, of course, like familiar with the subject matter. Of course, I know who Whitey fucking Bulger is, and probably so do you. But the film is based on a nonfiction book, which I haven't read. I've read plenty of other books on Whitey, but not this one. But this is also who Frank Costello in The Departed pulls inspiration from. Not to be confused with Frank Costello, who's a real guy, but an Irish or an Italian mobster, not an Irish mobster, an Italian mobster. I've been, drinking Bailey, so give me a little bit of leeway here. It's St. Patrick's Day, like give me a break. I'm an Irishman through and through. I'm having a little bit of good time in my Frankenstein. Mm-mm. And we're celebrating the day. Um, so, but he was a real Italian mobster, but he's like much different from the Francis that we get in The Departed. So, Black Mass is a story about James Whitey Bulger, who's an motherfuck. Who's an Irish mobster in Boston who rose to power with the help of the FBI. That's really the only reason that you know his name. Like, because he started out as this relatively, like, petty mob boss with his Winter Hill gang. But he only really gained success because of his, like, protected FBI informant status. And there's always rules to being a part of, like, to being a law enforcement informant, but especially a federal law enforcement informant. Like, there are rules to it, but his childhood friend, FBI Special Agent Don Conley, is there to kind of keep everything on the up and up for Whitey. And he gives little to no information throughout his time as an like on his informant status. But he's protected kind of for his potential, like to bring down the Italian mob, which has a stranglehold on Boston at this time. And it works out beautifully for Whitey because, like, he quickly kind of realizes the symbiotic relationship that he has with John Connolly. Because he's like, you know what? The more crimes I commit to build my empire, the more he has to cover it up to cover his own ass, like for making me like a protected FBI informant in the first place. So he uses that definitely to his advantage. And there's certainly a lot of parallels, which is why I picked this film and there's certainly like a lot of parallels with The Departed. Like we got Whitey, we got the corrupt federal agent, of course, we got Boston and Irishman. And while the movie is adept, that's about as far as it goes. The actors are certainly all in point. Although Tony Depp's like weird eyes certainly don't do anything but really take away from an otherwise pretty exceptional performance. And the character development, though, I must say, is like severely lacking in this movie, with like so many great characters, even in a true to life mob story, which is a Scorsese staple. Like he understands this that like the real guys are such larger than life characters. Like there's not much you can do that's not really going to excite on screen. But I feel like with each like familiar face, because you're going to recognize like every fucking actor who comes on screen, he's criminally underutilized. And it starts off really fucking cool. So it starts off with this character giving testimony in exchange for this lighter sentence. And it's a great opening. And Jesse Plemons, great actor, obviously. But we never really get more from the character afterwards. He's present, but just like only kind of in the physical sense. We know nothing about him other than he drives Whitey around. And we're introduced to all of like these like relationships around Whitey. We're introduced to all of Whitey's relationships, but like none seem really profound enough to really hold any emotional weight or really last on screen longer than what's like purely functional. The only thing that is quite compelling about the piece is the federal agent John Connolly is the only person in the film and in life who's not a rat. Everyone else is a rat except John Connolly, and he gets gifted with a 40-year sentence for it. He's loyal to the end, even though that means absolutely motherfucking nothing. um, and at so many points, he's given the opportunity to pull his support from Whitey and pretend like, oh, I was snowed along with everyone else, man. But he's so stubborn with his Southie pride. He refuses to take it. And I gotta say, if nothing else, like he certainly deserves a certain amount of respect for being the only one in this film and in real life with any character. And that's about as much as I can say about the film. Like, and I understand I probably like set it up for failure pairing it with The Departed, okay? Like, but I feel like this is like an opportunity to talk about how crucial the role of director or how crucial the role of director plays in a film. Like both are like based on relatively the same story, right? And it's like stacked with talent. Like you're going to recognize every face that comes on screen. But one of these films won Martin Scorsese his only Oscar, which is a sick, disgusting travesty. And I don't want to go into it because I'll be upset for days and weeks about it. Because he's won every Oscar in my heart. But let's move on and say the other was largely just kind of forgotten, like blown away, like dust in the wind. And I understand, like, not many get hold a candle to a master. So I know I set this one kind of up for failure a little bit, and maybe it's like you know what, maybe just watch The Departed twice. I did. I'm gonna watch it a third time, and we'll watch it tonight. You know, it's like I watched The Departed, I watched Black Mass, I watched The Departed again. Probably gonna watch it tonight. It's become a bit. I watch it every year on St. Patrick's Day since it came out. I was in I was in high school when this came out, but ever since then, it's become a tradition. I watch it every year. And now Banshees of Inisherin has become a little bit of a a little bit of a tradition too. So I'll probably be watching that tonight. Keep me on suicide watch. Keep me in your thoughts and prayers. I'll watch Banshees first, then The Departed, because it always puts me in a great mood. Um, so if you wanted to watch The Departed twice, I wouldn't fault you for it. But I will say, if you do end up watching Black Mass, you're going to be hungover tomorrow. Let's be honest. Like just like in your misery, just put it on. It's like kind of worth one of those misery watches. Those Sunday day watches or those hungover watches. It's kind of worth it because I will say, like two standouts. Adam Scott has a mustache, so that's like kind of a pleasant highlight from the ladies out there watching this. And men, if you're into that sort of thing, I'm telling you, the mustache it's pretty great. It's a pretty pleasant highlight. And I found Benedict Cumberbatch's accent very beguiling. It's a little bit funky, it's a little bit funny, but I dig it. Okay, and so will you. And sometimes, look, when you try something new, it's gonna go either way. But we continue on. We continue on, my fellow Irishmen, and we will chant a soldier's song straight into the solace of The Departed. So The Departed starts with a monologuing. Jesus Christ, I've had too much Baileys tonight. It's St. Patrick's Day. Like, give me that. I'm an Irish woman. I'm an Irish lass, and I'm having a little bit of Baileys tonight. And I do a tough fucking job, okay? Like, if you go into fucking exorbitant amount of debt to get a master's degree to go into fucking social work, then you can fucking talk to me, okay? Otherwise, I want you to shut your fucking trap. Um, but anyway, so like The Departed starts with the monologuing Frank Costello, and we get a lot of great nuggets in this. Some of my favorites, like I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me. Another standout: no one gives it to you. You gotta take it. And he speaks down on religion, serving as a pedagogue to this young Colin Sullivan, who turns out who will later grow up into a Matt Damon, who will into a Matt Damon. Like there's multiple Matt Damons. There's only one Matt Damon. I apologize to Matt Damon. There's only one Matt Damon. He's gonna grow up into Matt Damon though. This little Colin Sullivan. And he's like talking to this little Matt Damon, and he's like, you know what, Neil, stand. There's nothing to do with that sort of man that goes for something like that. And of course, it's like, yeah, Frank doesn't like the idea of getting told what to do, but he likes surrounding himself with people that do. And Colin is one of those that can't live his life without the firm hand of Daddy Costello guiding his every move. Cop versus criminal, Frank muses. When faced with a loaded gun, what's the difference? And we got Martin Sheen, we got Mark Wahlberg. And they're playing good cop, lunatic cop. Martin Sheen's like this like cartoon bulldog with this little loudmouth Chihuahua Wahlberg going off. Wahlberg is a Sergeant Dignam, and he is completely just like unloads on these recruits by like the very stone faced Captain Queen, and just like kind of sits there and he's just observing how each recruit sort of receives this abuse. And it has a purpose, because like of course it does. And it's like they gotta have enough cool to keep their calm, but enough fire that like their true feelings are really written in their face. And Billy Costigan, Leo, is the perfect man for the job. Like he's smart enough to think on his feet, but stealthy enough to blend right the fuck in. And we got Colin Sullivan. So now he's like grown up. He's Matt Damon now. He's a Matt Damon, a clone of Matt Damon. I'm sorry to divulge the secret to you. Matt Damon is a clone. I knew what Bailey said. Matt Damon, there's only one. There's only one Matt Damon. I'm sorry to Matt Damon. There's only one Matt Damon. So he's like quickly like starts pining over this literal like Golden State building soon after he lands his job as a cop. And, he's not in charge of anything except where he gets to live. And he chooses this place where power, like, looms very ambitiously outside of his window. It's, like, almost confrontational in nature, like how close yet beyond reach it is. And we can really tell, like, he's settling with, like, at least a view of what it would be like from the top. Um, and both of our boys deal in deception, but neither are really doing this for their like reasons totally outside of themselves, right? So we got Colin, who's like takes out his repressed rage with passion, like passive aggression, like a do daddy proud type bullshit. And Billy is sort of like using this as an excuse to unleash his inner brute, like breaking his own arm in the beginning, like beating these two Italian like shakedown criminals to near death. And as much as Billy enjoys unleashing his brutal like brutish rage, putting in a hard day's work has become more and more debilitating for him. Like, even though he's the one with the ultimate power, like, he's the one indirectly dictating all of the moves. And while each man's survival is like dependent on the other, at the end of the day, he's the only one really primed to come out on top. But Heavy wears the crown. Jack Nicholson as Frank Costello begins to unravel at rocket speed. His instability is like overtaking him more and more as his moments of lucidity become fewer and far between. And it's like after years of playing all sides, looking over his shoulder, it's like Frank has become so fractured that even he doesn't know who the fuck he is anymore. And we got Billy playing criminal versus cop that's just become introduced to this whiplash that, it is whiplash really into virality. And it's a performance by Leo that proves that awards, while nice to get recognized, mostly mean very little in the way of actual talent, because he would have swept the award season if so. And I will say, like, everyone, obviously, it's Scorsese film, and like, obviously, everyone is like an A-list actor. So it's like, like, obviously, like, it's like everyone's at the top of their absolute fucking game. But this is also Martin Scorsese's funniest movie to me. I just laugh and laugh every time I watch it. Its hypermasculinity is like serves not just comedic but very poignant themes. Impotency becomes a pervasive theme throughout the film. We got Colin, we got Frank Costello all fucking and no sons. Well, Billy Costigan is the only one equipped with very strong virile seed. Precisely because he lives by no one's rules. He's not someone bending over for anyone else. He doesn't have to. Not really. He's playing outside the binary rules of criminal versus cop. While everyone else is at each other's throats with words and fists, everything hinges on his next move. And it's like, who's really in charge? Who's really running the show? And Ireland has a long history fighting for her independence, and it was no exception when the Irishmen came to America. Inside of Frank's monologuing at the beginning, he cites within a few decades of an Irishman getting a place at the table, he rose to the presidency. Power preceding rebellion, but the presidency only affords this power to one man, mostly power-turned gangster deviant passing through Ellis Island. The Irishman story perverted by the American dream. Money is power, power is freedom, and the easiest way to rise the ranks in the scrub nation is through thuggery and racketeering. Only Billy Costigan, a true Irishman at heart, is the Golden Dome so prominently featured throughout the film, a Christ-like figure sent to cleanse all of our Irish souls from the sins that have bastardized our heritage. Stand strong, my brethren, against these degenerate values. Do not succumb to base desires, for this is not true freedom, but puppetry designed to appear as autonomy. Don't be deceived. You can never truly rule the dollar. It's an entity that only offers an illusion of control. It's an inhuman design that will always rule you. Let the green that runs through our veins be the color on our great flag, and not the color of currency. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and let this be a lesson not just to the Irishmen of the world, but to every citizen of every great nation. Stand proud and drive the snakes away.